Today we're getting into the latest Tesla and EV news, including Model X records, Tesla hitting record production at Giga Shanghai, Apple Car updates, the $400,000 Hummer EV, and why Teslas will be seeing more price increases. So let's get into it. First up today, Apple for a long time now has been working on an autonomous electric vehicle project. In classic Apple fashion, this project has been very delayed, and they aren't expected to be one of the first to bring out a revolutionary electric car. But since it's such a large project that will require large suppliers, we've seen a lot of leaks over the past few years. Apple has been spotted testing self-driving systems on Lexus vehicles. Rumors have said Apple would base their vehicle on Hyundai's eGMP platform, and that they were negotiating with Hyundai on the vehicle itself. But in February of 2021, Hyundai and Kia said they weren't in discussions to develop an Apple car. There have been tons of rumors, as well as a lot of hiring and large-scale departures of employees working on the Apple Car project, and the location of Apple's secret car project, also known as Project Titan, is said to be in Sunnyvale, California, a few minutes away from their main campus. Obviously, this car would directly compete against Tesla, and Apple does have a decent track record of showing up late to something, but figuring out a new way to present it so that people want what they offer even at a steeper price. Most recently for the Apple Car, reports said that Apple has developed chip modules and packages for the autopilot functions of the Apple Car with the help of a company based in South Korea known as OSAT. Quote, the South Korean OSAT firm was working on the module for a chip that operates the autopilot function, much like those used by Tesla, sources said. Such chips, which oversee AI computations, usually integrate a neural processing unit, CPU, GPU, memory, as well as camera interface, among other functions. Foxconn, one of Apple's biggest suppliers, plans to have their electric vehicle factory operational by 2023, and rumors claim that they will be building the Apple Car there. Those chip rumors were the latest, but just this week, a new report claims that Apple is in talks with a Korean substrate maker over their chip supply for the Apple Car. Quote, Apple reportedly is in talks with a Korean substrate maker for the supply of ABF-based FCBGA substrate for processing Apple Car chip solutions, sparking concerns about which IC substrate suppliers will eventually contribute components to Apple's EV, according to industry sources. It seems plausible that Apple might seek ABF substrates from a Korean substrate maker that could give full capacity support for Apple Car production, the sources said. Apple is in these talks since chip supply for vehicles are one of the most difficult things to come by in this space right now. It's not a huge development, and the latest rumors for the Apple Car still place it launching in 2025 or later, but it's clear that Apple is still hard at work on this car, and when it launches, it will be ready, unlike a lot of EVs we're seeing announced by big brands lately. More on that in a minute. Next up today, over at Tesla's now most successful factory, Giga Shanghai, output has held an incredibly impressive pace. February numbers from China are out, and it shows that Tesla is maintaining an output of more than 600,000 EVs per year at that factory. They sold 56,515 domestically made vehicles in China, and 33,315 of those were exported to other markets in February. Particularly the Model Y, which launched in a few new European countries recently, came out of that factory. Tesla is reportedly only going to increase this to around 1 million vehicles per year there with some improvements to the factory, but the big rumors are saying that they plan to build a second factory adjacent to Giga Shanghai to exactly double that production. That would lead to them making over 2 million EVs a year there. Giga Berlin and Giga Texas are on the cusp of opening, but clearly Tesla is having their most success at Giga Shanghai, so them repeating that in another factory in the same spot seems incredibly likely. Next up today, one of the biggest things we hear all the time about electric cars still is that once an established automaker creates their own EV, it will blow Tesla out of the water. Legacy automakers have production lines established, so they will have no problem copying and improving on what Tesla has done. They will also be able to make their cars cheaper and without as many issues. It will also be detached from Elon Musk, who is a controversial character for some people. As we continue to see, though, this is never the case. Even though the US president says that GM is the leader in EVs, they managed to sell 26 total EVs in Q4 of 2021. At the same time, their Bolt continues to be on a production pause from battery issues. One of those EVs delivered in Q4 of 2021 was the Hummer EV. This is their first fully electric truck, and it brings a lot of awesome features, but ultimately it's designed with what many refer to as dumb range. It achieves a range around 350 miles on a charge, but does so with a 200 kilowatt-hour battery. That's double the size of a Model S battery, which achieves 400 miles of range on a charge, and will result in from longer charge times for the Hummer EV, more expensive charges, and the worst efficiency of any EV ever released. Obviously, it's a much bigger car than the Model S, but that comparison shows just how inefficient it is. Still, with those downsides, the Hummer EV offers a lot, and it's an exciting and incredibly powerful truck with a 0 to 60 in as little as 3 seconds. That's insane for a vehicle its size, but now we're seeing just how popular this Hummer EV truly is. Teslas hold their value well, but we don't see them selling for insane amounts because you can actually get those cars. With the Hummer EV, we're seeing a different story. The price of an Edition 1 Hummer EV is $110,295 from GMC. Then you'll potentially be paying a dealer markup, but still that's around the price it goes for, and they're getting resold for insane amounts. There are a number of Hummer EVs for sale, and one in particular was listed for $325,000, nearly 3 times the original price and an insane cost for this vehicle. According to a dealer facilitating sales on the Hummer chat forums as well, he claims that there was a Hummer EV sold in Los Angeles for a whopping $450,000. This is some crazy reselling, scalping, or whatever you might call it, but it points to a bigger issue at hand. These cars are reselling for large amounts of money because they are rare. The Hummer EV Edition 1 itself is a rare edition, with only 5,000 units planned, but the truck itself is supposed to be something that becomes available. It's expensive, but it's supposed to be an electric truck option on the market for buyers to get. Right now, and for what seems like very long into the future and much longer than they originally planned, it's incredibly hard to even come by a Hummer EV without getting resold one for $400,000 or more. This is happening at the same time that gas prices are hitting absolute all-time highs. If you have the means to buy an electric car, one easy way to bring down your gas bill is to switch to an electric car, and that is something we're going to see more and more of coming up. Tesla's demand is already high, but if you're paying over $4 a gallon for gas nationwide and closing in on $6 or $7 in California, that's an additional driver to push people even more to EVs. Ultimately, when people want to switch to an EV, they might want to go with a brand that they've heard of, but for now, how do you actually get one of those? Chevy Bolt production is paused until April, the Hummer EV is rare, and Ford has stopped taking deliveries of 2 variants of the 2022 Mach-E since it is sold out through 2022. The editions they stopped taking orders for were the California Route 1 edition and Mach-E Premium, and they plan to still take orders for the Select, GT, and GT Performance models. For VW, they have a number of electric vehicles out there, and they are fairly available, but their true plans for an EV come with their Trinity high-efficiency long-range EV. They plan to build a new factory for this EV, getting a range close to 435 miles or more, but the timeline for that release is 2026. That's just so far away compared to what customers are wanting. Tesla's backlog of orders is long, but as we mentioned, they're having no problem continuing to make electric cars, breaking records each quarter and each year. So those customers looking to switch to electric, they're going to buy what they can actually get their hands on. Right now, and a good deal into the future, that's going to be a Tesla. That's one way that Tesla's demand will increase, and their costs could increase as well. But another comes with the recent price increase of nickel. A recent Reuters article said that, quote, London nickel prices soared as much as 30.7% on Monday, their biggest daily percentage gain on record, as supply disruption fears crippled markets. The article follows to say, quote, nickel was already in tight supply, and if a large supplier is being taken out from the market, it will have a cascading impact in the near to medium term. One essential piece of batteries, as Tesla and most other companies currently ship them, is nickel. Nickel is part of the battery chemistry, along with lithium, which most people know about. On Tuesday, nickel prices increased so much that trading was suspended in the base metal for the first time in its 145-year history. The cost of nickel doubled then, and according to the International Energy Agency, estimating back in May, they said, quote, a doubling of lithium or nickel prices would induce a 6% increase in battery cost. Tesla doesn't exclusively use nickel packs, and foreseeing these issues, they've actually been shifting standard range vehicles to LFP or lithium iron phosphate chemistry. In their standard range Model 3 out of Giga Shanghai, they use LFP battery cells, which don't have quite as good of density, but can get the job done on these cars in particular for lower cost. Lithium iron phosphate eliminates both nickel and cobalt from the batteries. One benefit of LFP chemistry as well is that you can charge it to 100% all the time with no issues, whereas 80 to 90% is the recommendation for normal packs with nickel. Still though, so far Tesla only has implemented this chemistry in standard range vehicles out of China. They plan to shift globally for standard range vehicles, but long range vehicles will require nickel. Demand for nickel in EVs is also only expected to skyrocket. Quote, even with conservative estimates of electric vehicle adoption, it is expected that EV nickel demand would jump from 5% to 59% of the overall nickel supply within this decade. With these recent nickel increases, the core piece of a Tesla and the most expensive piece, the battery, could see an increase of around 6% according to those estimates. Ultimately, this will end up coming down to the cost of the vehicle, and this is likely a large reason why Rivian suddenly raised their prices last week by $15,000 to $20,000. Last year, the cost of the Model Y went up by $10,000, and all of Tesla's vehicles went up in a similar amount. Quote, Morgan Stanley believes the new price alone could add an average of $1,000 to electric cars like Tesla's. The increase of the Model Y price was due to many factors, including supply shortages, the chip shortage, and more, but the most recent factors that will drive Tesla's prices up are higher gas prices, driving customers to EVs, Tesla's being the EVs that are actually available for customers, and the cost of nickel, an essential battery element, increasing in price as well. It's an exciting time for EVs, and many want to switch or are looking to switch, but unfortunately, the inflation we're seeing everywhere isn't separate from electric cars. EVs as a whole are being affected, and the companies that expected to easily jump into electric cars without doing the supply chain math, as J.B. Struble puts it, are finding that they actually can't quite produce as many EVs as Tesla can. As always, I'm rooting for all of these companies, but the fact that a Hummer EV, originally set for launch in fall of 2021, is rare enough now to sell for $400,000 shows what's truly going on here. It's not good that these cars are rare. Next up today, big news for Tesla at Giga Berlin. After receiving their full approval at that new factory, Tesla has confirmed that first deliveries will officially begin there on March 22nd. Tesla sent out official invitations to the delivery event on the 22nd, and this is a big deal for them as this is another new factory officially beginning deliveries of their most popular vehicle. This factory is expected to significantly increase production of the Model Y overseas and help to reduce transit times along with the financial strain it can take on Tesla holding on to these cars before they can deliver them. For now, the Model Y out of Berlin will use 2170 cells and will be identical to a Model Y as currently shipped from Giga Shanghai or Fremont, but Tesla is rumored to be planning a shift over to 4680 cells later this year once the production line of those batteries is built out at Giga Berlin. Next up today, Elon Musk in a series of tweets talked about how there is a need to increase oil and gas output. This has confused a lot of people as Tesla is clearly trying to shift the world to sustainable energy and away from the use of gas. However, many aren't considering the whole picture and the things I just talked about regarding the availability and pricing of electric vehicles. Elon Musk tweeted saying, quote, hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures. Obviously, this would negatively affect Tesla, but sustainable energy solutions simply cannot react instantaneously to make up for Russian oil and gas exports. In a follow-up tweet here, Elon said, quote, increased oil and gas production in the short term is critical or people around the world will be placed under great duress. This is not a question of money, it is a question of having enough energy to power civilization. What he's clearly laying out here is that the future of solar energy, electric vehicles, power storage, and more is a smart future. It's a clean future that can eliminate the need to burn fossil fuels on a large scale and help with climate issues. It can also eliminate blackouts with properly stored energy, but that future takes time. And right now, we need a way to make enough energy to power civilization as it is. Next up today, a new drag race from Drag Times put the Lamborghini Huracan Evo up against the Plaid Model X. That's the quickest Lamborghini in production, up against Tesla's second fastest vehicle, the Plaid Model X. Their fastest is obviously the Plaid Model S. We know that the Plaid Model X is fast, and I actually did a full review of that car, which you can see linked up here or in the description below. But still, it's shocking just how truly fast it is. It's 1,020 horsepower, and as this race showed, even with the Lamborghini getting an initial jump, the Model X Plaid SUV beat it in the quarter mile. Its quarter mile was 9.903 seconds at 144.84 miles per hour, whereas the Lamborghini was a 10.964 second quarter mile at 129.55 miles per hour. Another race had slightly better numbers. At this point, it's not shocking when you look at the numbers on paper that the Model S and Model X Plaid are beating pretty much every car you can buy. But with the Model X and how large it is, it's especially shocking. It continues to show just how incredible electric cars are becoming, and it's an exciting part of the future. Next up today, Tesla has begun offering a complimentary all-weather kit for Model Ys bought in specific climates. For some customers, this came on the car at delivery, but for others, after taking delivery, they received an email saying, quote, order your complimentary Model Y all-weather protection kit. With easy self-installation, the all-weather protection kit can reduce the risk of paint damage from stone chips in areas where heavy salts, sand, or gravel is used to improve winter road conditions. Tesla sells this on their website for $110 $110, and it includes 2 front mud flaps, 2 clear protective films for the rear fenders, a squeegee, and hardware for installation. This has been a complaint of Model Y owners in the past in areas affected by weather, so it's good to see Tesla offering this solution to customers without an additional charge when needed. Next up today, Mercedes, with their first truly electric car, the EQS, is facing a recall. Quote, "This time the issue is an electric connection that may not be properly secured, and Mercedes believes this could potentially start a fire and has thus recalled all EQS variants for this to be addressed. There have been no reported fires or incidents linked to this issue. So far, it's only affected about 24 vehicles delivered in the US. For the fix, Mercedes says, quote, dealers will inspect the ground connection and the auxiliary heater electrical connection and repair them as necessary free of charge. Owner notification letters are expected to be mailed April 29, 2022. It's not a big recall and no fires were reported. Additionally, it's only affecting vehicles manufactured between May 26th and December 23rd of 2021, but it does point to the fact that any brand can have a recall and they are common amongst all brands. Glad to see that the issue has been identified and that there were no injuries or anything related to it. Last up today, a Tesla owner in China experienced a severe bug at a supercharger station, facing a charge of $600,000 after charging. Quote, today the vehicle was suddenly banned from supercharging and received an app prompt to pay a supercharging fee of around $600,000. The owner called customer service and they noticed the error, but it's unclear why the error occurred. Ultimately, this is a small thing that will get fixed, but I suppose it could incentivize you to always look at the pricing that you're paying at a supercharger. It's listed on screen when you arrive what the kilowatts per hour is, so pay attention to that so that you know what you're paying. Still, a bug like this isn't something to worry about, but it's a pretty crazy charging cost to happen regardless of the issue. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see my full review of the new Tesla Model X Plaid, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.